Hi, everybody. It is Sunday evening. I hope you had a nice weekend. It's Region Weather Meteorologist Matt Wintz. Sunday evening means one thing, Region Weather Live time, and we have a lot to talk about tonight with that system moving in tonight and tomorrow. We've also got that late week system that we talked about in our last Region Weather Live, which was Thursday night. That's going to bring some cold air, and boy, the models either spin up some kind of storm system that could be impactful or it misses us. Isn't that usually the trend around here? So we'll talk about that and we'll get you through tomorrow. We'll let you know if it's something you need to worry about, all in this Sunday night edition of Region Weather Live. And welcome in, everybody. Want to say a shout out to our first ones on here: Cassandra, Dee, Brandy, Amy, Luann, Annette, and Jeff, and Redeem Furnishings. Hello. Kimberly, hello, and good evening to you. I hope you guys had a great weekend. There's lots to discuss. First, want to thank our sponsors. You know the deal. We've got Tiger Plumbing out of the Highland area. Great plumbing service. If you guys need a plumber, please go to Tiger Plumbing. It's tigerplumbing.net. They're offering $30 off sump pump, either replacement or a new sump pump service. They never charge an estimate fee. They never charge a fee to come out and view whatever the problem is and give you an estimate, which is unlike a lot of plumbers that we've used in the past. I have not met one that doesn't charge. We did get a new toilet, so that was great. That was a while ago. Anyway, so Tiger Plumbing, check them out. Also, Grieger's, Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Valparaiso. Great car dealership, great folks to work with as well. I could care less because everyone can sell cars, right? But it's the people behind it, family-owned business, great folks over at Grieger. So give them a visit if you need a new car or if you're just looking for a lease to get you through the rest of winter. All right, so let's get to what we've got going on weather-wise. You know, it was really active yesterday. We talked about those storms that were moving in, right? Had some gusty winds down in Newton and Jasper County from those last night. Most of Lake Porter and LaPorte counties were spared. We had some gusty winds, but nothing of the damaging type. But look at all the severe weather reports. I'm going to go full screen on this. I know it's a small graphic, but over off towards the left side of your screen, you can see all the reports yesterday. There were 155 wind damage reports, 44 tornado reports out of the Midwest. You saw some of the video probably coming out of Iowa. It certainly was a scary night for them out there in late afternoon and evening. And those were the storms that came through our region last night that brought the cooler air in here today. So just kind of a testament of what we can do here with the March sunshine and some heating and a little bit of cold air on the backside. Certainly gets active around here. All right, the one thing that I want to show you here is the evolution of yesterday's storm system and how it's setting up this storm system. So you can see as we go through time, this is over the last 48 hours. You can see that first area of low pressure that ramped up in areas of Iowa right there, producing all the severe weather on the leading edge of this. That was the cold front that brought cold air in here that's setting the stage for this next system that's coming in. You can see as we go through the loop how that boundary kind of settles down to the south and stalls right across Oklahoma. And now it's coming back north as that round two that we've been alluding to. And if you remember last Sunday night in the Region Weather Live, I went back and checked. We were talking about the potential for this system to come in two waves 7 days ago. So the models have had a really good handle on how this evolves. So we're pretty confident in how things are going to shape up tomorrow in terms of our impacts from the storm system as it moves through. And now, as always, we start to look ahead towards later in this week where we have another big storm system. And this one, I'm telling you, I think this one's going to pack a punch. The question is where, but remember we were talking about that gush of Arctic air that's almost a definite late next week, so Friday and a Saturday. And boy, that is going to spin up some kind of storm system, but the model's still all over the board. But I'm going to show those to you here after we get through the near term. So I could watch this all day. As a meteorologist, it's so mesmerizing just to see the way the atmosphere flows and just how fluid it is. It's just blows my mind every single time that we can even predict this. If you just look at how crazy it is and chaotic it is, unbelievable. But anyway, I digress. So here we go. Let's get into this storm system number two. We're already seeing it develop. We've had severe weather, even a couple tornado reports out of areas of Arkansas. That's that surge of moisture coming northward. So as we go through time, I'm going to go full screen again if I can. That way you can see it just a little bit better. As we go through time, you can see the system evolving. It's just basically a big chunk of moisture that's coming our way, and that will move in later on tonight, likely after the midnight hour. It's coming in pretty quickly, though. You can see it moves in as rain. That's what we were expecting on Thursday. So we start as rain, and then we start to kind of mix with some rain and gloppy wet snow. I'm not expecting freezing rain out of this. We may have a little sleet, but I really think it's going to be either clear cut rain or clear cut snow or a mix of the two. There's not a lot of mixed precip with this, but it does look to be kind of messy. So this is tomorrow morning rush hour right about here. And you notice how we're mixing with wet snow. It's snowing up towards Chicago, likely big, wet, gloppy flakes. We've still got rain mixing in our southern counties. As the cold air feeds into the system, we'll change everything over eventually to all snow before this ends. And we could have some pretty decent snowfall rates before this pushes out. So just picture reduced visibilities, big wet snowfall, snowflakes falling. And this is about 10 o'clock in the morning. So that coincides with the morning rush and beyond. So likely rain up until 3, 4, 5 a.m. It'll start to mix around with some snow between them as well, especially our northern counties. It should stay rain in our southern counties for longer. And then all of us change over to snow. I would say by 8, 9, 10 o'clock is when we have that changeover. And then it ends. So then it's out of here, right? But this is going to be a messy system. I'm not expecting huge travel impacts, but there's going to be a little window of time where we're dealing with perhaps some tricky travel. Temperatures aren't rock bottom with this, right? We're going to be in the 30s, so road salt's going to work just fine. But I do think once this is over with, we're going to bring colder air, and you notice how we have some lingering lake effect snow showers. Doesn't look too organized, but we're going to add maybe a half an inch or an inch out in LaPorte County from that before that clears on out. But in terms of snowfall accumulation, not a huge storm, right? Totals as of right now in the region look to be maybe 1 to 3 inches tomorrow. My gut would say probably 1 to 2. And it's going to come with rain initially, so you'll have that wet snow on top of it. So it's just going to kind of coat everything and kind of a heavier wet snow all around the region, especially north. So here's what the models are saying. They all agree with this, so I have no reason to disagree with this. You notice some of the heavier rates up towards Chicago. We're not talking a huge snow locally, but it could be impactful for that time frame between about 9 a.m. and noon, I think, when we could get some heavier bursts in there for sure. But you see some of the totals, maybe, northern Lake, Porter, and LaPorte counties could pick up the 2 inches of wet snow. A lot of this is going to compact because wet snow just kind of melts into itself. It becomes water and slush, right? So not a huge impactful storm tomorrow by any means, but it's that little window that we need to watch. Areas down to the south, Rensselaer over towards Couts, Stark County over towards the Plymouth area, likely less. You may see a half an inch to an inch, but this is going to be a non-event for you in terms of heavier snow, but a little coating, could do it. We'll call it a candy coating, they call it. And then that system's out of here. Maybe a little bit of lake effect in LaPorte County, might add a little total, and that would be a little bit more on the fluffier side of the snow. But again, that system's gone and not really anything to worry about. But it is going to be messy tomorrow. So that morning commute tomorrow, keep in mind, we're going to have rain falling. That rain's going to be mixing with wet snow at times. So it's going to be messy tomorrow morning, regardless. It's going to be very rainy. There's a decent chunk of moisture coming in with this. So it will be raining moderate to heavy at times. And again, that snow on the backside could be moderate to heavy at times before it winds down. So that's our Monday system. Tuesday, we kind of breathe a sigh of relief. Everything kind of quiets down, and we should see some sunshine on Tuesday. And we have a pretty quick recovery in terms of temperatures as well. All right, last thing I want to cover here is, before we answer your questions, of course, is going to be this late week storm system. I think this one is going to be the one to watch. We highlighted this on Thursday as it's going to spin up something big. Just looking at the pattern, as a meteorologist looking at the evolution of this pattern shift, there's a big chunk of polar air straight from the Arctic, right? It's polar plunge, Arctic outbreak, whatever you want to call it. There's a chunk coming down off the polar vortex, which happens a lot. But this time of year, it doesn't happen a lot. And that is really going to dive south in the country. And what goes down must come up. Whenever you have something going like this in the country, you usually have air going this way. And in between, you get that big swirl. So let's look at it. You're wondering probably, if you're a weather junkie, Matt, why are you showing me the GFS first, the American model? You usually don't like the American model, right? I just want to show you this solution first, because the Euro is the one that really nails us. And I want to save that for last, all right? So here we go through time. This is the system that's moving through tonight and tomorrow. Everything agrees. We turn colder behind it, a little bit of leftover snow. Here's Tuesday, completely dry. It's quiet across the Great Lakes, a great day. Another little system zips by to the south on Wednesday, not impactful locally. We should be comfortably cool on Wednesday as well. Here's the system though. So the GFS and the Euro and the GEM, all the deterministic global models that we look at for 5 to 7 days out, they all agree something evolves, but they all agree totally differently on how it evolves. So the GFS brings this little area of snow on the heels of this colder air. This colder air is plunging into the upper Midwest, right? So it's coming down regardless of if there's snow or anything like that. This cold chunk of air is just diving south. At the same time, there's going to be warm air coming out of the Gulf. There's going to be a wave of energy coming out of the Gulf as well. Do these line up? Does that low line up at the same time the cold air is coming down and spin up a big storm over us? Or does it happen off towards the east? Or are they disconnected? Does the warm air come up and then the cold air comes down and you get two kind of separate weaker systems? Those are the things in question right now. But the GFS starts us out as snow. So we are turning colder on Friday during the day. That cold air is getting here. We get a burst of snow, says the GFS. And you see how those two waves come together to our east. That keeps the bulk of the snowstorm, which we'll likely be dealing with, out towards the east. Some lake effect is likely because we're going to have really cold air aloft. This is going to kick off likely some heavier lake effect. Where that goes, again, still in question, because if this low comes further west, lake effect's going to be out of it. We'll have system snow to deal with. But the potential's there for some heavy lake effect or snowstorm, as you'll see in a second. Look at this storm raking areas of Ohio, Pennsylvania, New York, even all the way down to the Carolinas as this cold air goes all the way down to the Gulf Coast. Spring breakers next week are going to have a very cold Friday and Saturday as far south as Florida. I would help, but I don't help but feel bad for them because, you look forward to this week of getting out of Indiana for a little bit just to get some warmer air. And boy, it looks just nasty down there, just nasty cold. It doesn't last long this time of year. That's the good news. And you can see how the GFS has the system head on out. And then we're quiet by Sunday next weekend. All right. So I want to show how much snow the GFS is thinking. All right. This is through next Sunday. Okay. So through next Sunday, it's, 3 to 5 inches or so. Keep in mind an inch or two, that's from the system on Monday. But you notice that strip going from Tennessee. Can you imagine Nashville was near 80 degrees for a couple days? They're going to be perhaps 5 to 10 inches of snow. I mean, this is going to be an incredible national story with the storm system. It's not out of character for March, right? March does things like this where we get cold air, warm air going together. But this would bring, 5 to 10 inches for Tennessee, all the way up through Ohio, Pennsylvania, and then up into Canada. Meanwhile, we get some lighter amounts back here, but still some snow out of it. Okay, let's show you the Euro. I always like the Euro. I tend to lean Euro as a forecaster. And the Euro has continued over the last 2 days to paint a pretty decent storm system here. So I'm going to go back through time. I'm going to give you the 12Z because the 18Z model run only goes out 90 hours. That won't get us there. So this is the Euro. Here's our quiet Tuesday. Here's our quiet Wednesday. Little system down to the south. Agree with that. And then as we go into Thursday, same look as the GFS, right? On the heels of that cold air, the system comes in, starts as maybe a little bit of rain. I could buy that. We're going to be on the warmer side. And then it turns us over to snow on Friday. So right now it looks pretty likely we're going to get some snow around here on Friday. Both models agree with that. And that'll be with the colder air. But remember that energy coming out of the Gulf. That energy with the Euro is further west and it brings it further north. So what does that do? Well, the Euro has us starting as some snow on Friday morning. It ramps that snow up Friday afternoon and evening. It continues with heavy snow Friday night and then on into Saturday. Look at this powerhouse low that's heading up the Ohio Valley. We talk about sweet spot. Right now, the Euro has northwest Indiana and even central Indiana right in the sweet spot of the storm system. This is Saturday morning. The wind is howling off the lake with this. The heavy snow finally winds down Saturday. We get lake effect, likely heavy with the cold air coming off of that Saturday. And then you can see it finally winds down as this whole chunk of cold air finally gets out of here by Sunday. But boy, the damage will be done. High temperatures this weekend, regardless of what model you're thinking. And we highlighted this back on Thursday. I think high temperatures struggle to get out of the 20s, which is really hard to do this time of year. That sun angle is getting higher. There's a lot more energy coming from the sun, and it's really hard to stay cold. That's why we tend to warm up like we did over the last couple days. But certainly an impressive system for sure. So how much snow is the Euro saying right now? And again, these numbers will change if you've been with us long enough here at Region Weather. We don't preach numbers this far out. We'll talk numbers, snowfall totals, maybe 2 days out at best, because the models will fluctuate back and forth. So how much snow does the Euro say? Here's Friday into Saturday, and that's a pretty healthy storm for this time of year. It's painting anywhere from 10 to 12 inches right over northwest Indiana. So that would be a decent storm. So what do we do now? Again, you get your questions ready as well. We'll be happy to answer those. So what do we do now? Well, we put Friday and Saturday in the back of our minds. One thing's for sure, as a meteorologist, I can tell you it's going to get colder this weekend. We can nail temperatures pretty well, temperature trends. It's those storm systems and the exact evolution of them and the exact track of them that we can see them, right? And we're talking about it, we're getting you ready for it, but we can't nail down the exact track, which is crucial until a couple days out. So again, we have a pretty good idea of this. The models are all over the place. So that tells me this is a very changeable event. We'll likely have some kind of big storm system anywhere from here out towards the East Coast Friday and Saturday. But where it exactly goes and how that impacts us locally, it's impossible to predict at this point. So the thing you need to know is Friday, Saturday, just stay tuned to the forecast, because this is going to change, and there's a potential there that we get some kind of decent winter storm around here, if not just cold air and some lake effect with it. All right. So that's what we're doing here. So in recap, tomorrow morning, we've got rain that's going to move in tonight. Tomorrow morning, for that morning commute or the bus stop, we're going to have rain mixing with wet snow. That wet snow will eventually take over, and we're all wet snow later in the morning. Highest accumulations, I say highest because they're still going to be on the lower side, is for Lake Porter and LaPorte counties, especially closer to the lake you get. That's where the most snow will fall. We're talking maybe 1 to 2 inches. It's going to be very slushy. It's just going to be kind of a messy morning between the rain and the wet snow. If you're further south, southern Lake Porter and LaPorte counties over towards Stark County, we're likely going to stay rain longer. We'll have the wet snow come in at the end. Not a lot of snow from this for you. And then down in Newton and Jasper counties, we're not dealing with much snow at all. It's going to be mainly rain. We'll get a little sweep of snow at the end to kind of candy coat everything. And then that system's out of here. On the impact scale tomorrow, I would say a meh, like not really a big deal, but just morning. I mean, you've driven in rain, we've driven in wet snow before. And again, that window is going to be anywhere from about 4 a.m. when it starts to mix and change over to about noon. All right. That's the window tomorrow. After that, we'll deal with some lake effect snow showers. Shouldn't be too big of a deal. After that, we go quiet midweek, and then we watch this system that moves in anytime between late Thursday all the way through Saturday. And that's going to come with a chunk of cold air with it that moves in here. All right. So hopefully that was helpful. I hope that helps you plan your week. That's the whole point of these Region Weather Lives, is to get you going in terms of your week, kind of planning things out. Okay. All right. So let's get to your questions. If you guys have any questions whatsoever, be happy to answer those. Then we'll get you on to your Sunday evening, whatever you happen to have planned tonight. I hope it involves some tart cherry juice and a bedtime story. That's sounds like a perfect night to me. All right. Tom says, my daughter is driving up from Nashville on Friday. Ooh, that's tough, Tom. Gosh, I mean, because the system lines up. She's either going to hit it here or she's going to hit it down there, just depending on the track of this. But it definitely looks like we'll have some kind of snow between here and Nashville on Friday. So just stay tuned to that forecast. If she's a good winter weather driver, she may be able to make it. But might be best, if she can come up on Thursday, that might be a better idea for you. Erica's got the same issue. Son is driving from Valpo to Bloomington later this week. Should he come home Thursday night, Friday, or Saturday? Well, I don't want to blow the whistle yet, Erica, on the travel plans. But, if there was a day, just looking at some of the models, I would probably say Thursday night would be best. Friday, Saturday, we might be dealing with a storm system. Best case scenario, this storm system develops over towards Kentucky and Ohio, and we just have lake effect snow to deal with, right? And that would be something we could probably handle on Friday, Saturday. But if he does have the option, I think Thursday's the day to do it for sure. Joshua says, for tonight's storm, Western Chicagoland, we're looking at 2+ inches. Joshua, that's a good question. You're probably looking at I would say 2 to 3 out there. The west side, probably more towards 2, the north side and up towards, the Waukegan area, Wilmette area, we'll probably see 2, 3, 4 maybe from this. But it does look like a lot of it's going to melt into a mess. So we're going to have some rain mixing in at first. We're going to have wet ground, just big gloppy wet flakes. So I would probably say 2 inches, that melts into one, depending on where you are. The south side, west side, I would probably say 2 to 3 inches that melts into 2, if that helps. Yep, Mark, absolutely. Yeah, three days out gives us really good reliability in terms of the models, not just predicting it better, but 3 days out, that system's usually over land. And again, when these systems are out over the ocean, they're not getting a full spectrum of sensors that are getting the data in over what the system's doing. Over land, they get a ton of information. Once it hits California or Oregon, that's when the models really start to align usually, because there are a lot more sensors transmitting the data over land than there are water. Mike, you're welcome, buddy. Nick is traveling to St. Louis Friday mid-afternoon. That depends on the track of the storm, Nick. So the Euro here, as we're looking at, I mean, these are the accumulations. This is Friday through Saturday, and you notice St. Louis with the Euro, 5 inches. But if you're traveling from here to there, you're going to run through an area that gets a foot, and that's going to be falling during that time frame. If we're paying attention to the GFS model or even the Canadian model, it's further east, so it won't be that impactful. So keep a close eye, Nick, on the track of this storm as we go throughout the week, because this could be either something that's really impactful for you on that drive, or if it's further to the east, there's going to be some wind. It's going to get colder, but the bulk of the snow will be east of you. Too early to tell at this point. Bill, great question. Will Friday's storm be light and fluffy or heavy and wet snow? It will likely be heavy wet to start, and then we'll turn over to the fluffy stuff at the end. Air temperatures are really what determines that. If air temps are in the 30s, you tend to have more moisture. Remember, the colder the air, the less moisture it can hold. So when you get these really cold polar air masses in the middle of January, they can't hold much moisture at all. So you get real fluffy light snow that blows around. The warmer the air, so if we're talking near freezing, the 32-degree mark, that can hold a lot more moisture than a 20-degree air mass can. So it tends to hold a lot of water. You get that heavy wet snow when that temperature is near freezing. Some of the highest water content snows are when it's like 34, 35. You can still get heavy snow above freezing as long as it's cold up above you, and that can really hold a lot of moisture to it. So this will likely start as heavy wet and then change over to a fluffy snow at the end. Terry wants spring. She had enough of winter. I feel you, Terry. We get these little teases. We can't have nice things for long this time of year, but we get these little teases every now and then we go back to this. This is when spring break really counts. Maxwell says, hopefully this is it for snow after this week. I know. A lot of people are. I have a feeling it's not. I still don't think we're done with the snow after this one. We're getting close, but we're not done. We've had snow in April. We've had snow in May before. And March, I think, will probably produce another storm. Ann says, my daughter's supposed to drive to Pittsburgh over the weekend. Is that possible? Yeah, Ann, if it's over the weekend, it should be much better. This storm system on Saturday should be pulling on out. Again, it's going to affect Pittsburgh later, but you can see this is the model run bringing snow still into Pittsburgh on Saturday. So Saturday night would be when it improves there on into Sunday, but it all depends on the track of this, all right? Danielle says, is snow colder in deeper spots? That's interesting. So if you have, yes, Danielle, snow actually helps protect plants and grass and stuff like that from getting really cold. It's actually warmer. The snow is warmer than it would be if you didn't have snow and you had 10-degree air. So it actually insulates everything in the ground. But in terms of the deeper spots, yeah, that deeper spot in the snow, it actually depends on air temperature, because if the air temperature is really cold, the surface of the snow is going to be coldest, whereas that deeper spot's going to be warmer. It's still all below freezing, right? But typically, if you get really deep compacted snow, that middle stuff turns to ice. It's just the solid, and that's the most consistent below freezing temperature. So it would be colder down below. Let's see. Oh, I'm missing a lot of comments here. Sorry, I'm trying to catch up. Walter's driving up to North Dakota on Thursday morning. Walter, you should be okay. You're going to hit this front up in North Dakota. So here's Thursday. You can see this. Here's the front. So there'll be some area of snow kind of lingering somewhere in the Midwest out ahead of this cold air. So you'll likely encounter snow at some point. And this cold air is diving into North Dakota first. So your forecast probably looks cold up there. Let's see. Oh, yeah, you're welcome, man. Thanks for joining us on our YouTube channel. Certainly appreciate that. Mark, I appreciate that too. Yeah, timing is everything. And as a meteorologist, I can't stand when we don't give you valuable information, right? Our job is to interpret the weather and to give you information you can use off of that. I don't want to just read a forecast, which you can get from your phone now. And that's not my job, is to read the same thing that you can read, right? My job is to interpret the weather and to give it to you in an informative way, right? And so for me, timing is everything, right? You want to know the timing of things. You want to know how it's going to impact your morning commute, what you can expect, what you need to take away from this late weekend storm system, right? So I hope you found that information valuable, because as a meteorologist, I can't stand when people just get up and read the weather to you. It's like, I don't need someone to read the weather to me. I need someone to tell me what it means, right? Sean asks a good question. I haven't read this yet, Sean. 2 global models that are way off on the track. Always so fun to watch. Yeah, it certainly is, Sean, for sure. And I said you had a good question before I even read it, but I know you ask good questions. Yeah, it's pretty amazing, but it's amazing they can even pick up on this feature at this point, to be honest. Kim is on our YouTube channel. Thanks for watching on there, Kim. Driving to Tennessee tomorrow night, back Tuesday night. Oh, back to Tennessee. Would leaving Wednesday night or Thursday be better? I don't think it matters, Kim. Wednesday night would be calmer. There is going to be a little system zipping by down towards Tennessee on Wednesday. Remember that one that goes south? So this one, you'll have some rain if you're going down to Nashville. But yeah, that's Wednesday. Wednesday night, you're in the clear. Thursday looks good too. Yeah, you're fine on both those days. You should be okay. Judy asks, finally, Judy, yeah, how do we get a t-shirt? So my t-shirts arrived. It took me, I'm so picky with the quality of cotton and stuff. I'm going to get the merch up and running. I got to get a Shopify account. There's all sorts of things you have to do just to sell stuff. And then they all take your money. And then I'm basically going to sell them and not make anything off of it, which is fine. I think it's fun. But yeah, we've got t-shirts. We've got, oh man, I've got so much stuff here. This is going to be a lot of fun. I've got little magnets for the fridge. Yeah, isn't that cool? All sorts of cool stuff. Stickers, got all sorts of sizes here that came in. So we're going to get that up and running. Problem is I have a full-time job as a meteorologist here, and I've got 3 kids. So again, these Sunday nights are precious, aren't they? But anyway, we'll get that up and running soon. I can't give you a timeline on it. I'm hoping by the end of the week. But if we have active weather, maybe not. But we'll definitely get these t-shirts out to you guys. So they're super cozy. My wife's asking me when I'm going to change out of this thing for sure. So we're going to do t-shirts for summer. There's no point in doing hoodies now. I know a lot of people wear hoodies, but we'll get some hoodies going later on. And how about hats? Is anyone interested in hats? Because I'm probably going to get a hat out of this. So I really appreciate you guys. And I know it's all about support, and I love you for that. And thank you so much. And thank you for those of you on Facebook who have sent stars. You don't ever have to do that. I do appreciate it. And I look at it afterwards and I say, my goodness, like I feel very blessed to have you and your support. You guys are great. You don't have to do anything. Again, I enjoy doing this. All right. This is my hobby and I love it. Joshua asks, what short range model is the best to look at? Joshua, they all are different based on the situation. And I don't know how best to explain it. For me personally, when I look at the short range models, it just depends on how I feel like it looks. Does that make sense? That doesn't help, I know. But there's sometimes the HRRR looks good, and it makes sense to me the way a model evolves based on past storm systems that I've seen. Sometimes the NAM Nest looks great based on past storm systems, right? So I hate to say that's where experience as a meteorologist comes in, but for me, that's where experience comes in. And so the best thing, if you want to do, your own forecasting, I think you're a plow driver right out in Chicagoland area. I think the best thing for you is if you want to get into your own forecasting of these things, if that's even an interest of yours, is to write down what the model says and write down what actually happens, and write down what this model said and write down what actually happens, and keep a log of that. I know that's extra work, but that's what I did when I was in college. That's what I did when I first became a meteorologist. And you start to learn how things evolve and how models handle certain situations. Problem is that always changes. So, the GFS a couple weeks ago was nailing these storm systems. It had high amounts of snow, but it was nailing the track. And now it's been off the last week and a half. So I'm leaning more Euro again. So it just goes all over the place for sure. Mark is screaming hoodie at me. Appreciate that. And thank you for that. I'm taking your input. I'm writing it down for hats for sure. Okay. And Maxwell says that too. All right. Mary, you're welcome. Tim, that's okay. So Well, that's interesting. Yeah. So, Tim, this system tonight, maybe 1 to 2 slushy inches in our northern counties. If you're in Newton, Jasper County, it looks to be much less. But then later on this week, we're watching a doozy of a storm system that has the potential to hit us, but it also has the potential to hit out towards the east. The models aren't aligning on it. So, what we're going to do with that system is put Friday and Saturday in our head that we could have a pretty decent snow around here at some point. The one guarantee later on this week is cold Arctic airs coming back. So it is going to get much colder Friday and then especially Saturday into next weekend. So I'm not putting any totals on that weekend system. It'd be irresponsible at this point. But I think a slushy, wet, gloppy 1 to 2 tomorrow, favoring our northern counties up towards the lakeshore. All right. Babs, you're welcome. Oh, no, WGN's great too. Yeah, and that's the whole point. There's no drama in the weather. Well, there is if there's a tornado warning. Okay, we'll get a little dramatic on that. Yeah, Erica, this is what I deal with all the time. 3 to 12 inches, depending on the model. It's actually like 3 to 14 inches, depending on the model. But we deal with this stuff all the time. I mean, these models, and if you saw that post we had on the GFS saying 30 inches last week, that was coming out. I mean, that happens on some of these models. That doesn't always happen to see a big amount like that, but the models fluctuate all the time. And again, we always blame the models for their inaccuracies, but they help guide our forecasts, right? We would have no idea if it wasn't for all these computer models, these supercomputers that take all this data, this raw data, and spit out what it thinks is going to happen 5 to 10, even 15 days from now. We would be nowhere if it wasn't for them. When I first started as a meteorologist, we were looking at, we called it MOS output. It was just sheets of numbers. It was just numbers with everything. We were lucky to get a map, right, that actually showed everything. We would have to put things together and render it to make it look like this, to make it move, right? So things have changed, and the supercomputers and the models behind them that constantly get updated are just they're a godsend in us being able to see a system 5 to 7 days from now, and even to begin talking about it. I think that's a big problem. You got me on a tangent now. Sorry. I think that's a big problem with the general public and just weather in general is that, okay, so we're seeing a storm system Friday, Saturday. We're going to be talking about it all week. You're going to be sick of hearing about this storm system. And then if that said storm system produces 2 to 4 inches of snow, whereas some of the models are saying 6 to 12 earlier in the week, you're going to be disappointed. And you're going to say, that was nothing. Why was it so blown up and hyped up? It wasn't hyped up. You were just hearing about it all week. So we tend to build things that we're hearing about a lot, like it must be a big deal. You're hearing things a lot because we have the forecasting ability to be able to predict these storms that far out. I hope that makes sense, but it certainly is a problem we run into for sure. Where's Kevin with my sports question? There you go. Thoughts on Bulls winning the Eastern Conference? Kevin, it's going to be a close. It's going to be a close run to the end. I do think they'll end up winning the Eastern Conference. My Cleveland Cavaliers are not doing me justice, so I think the Bulls are safe now. Miami looks good, but they're kind of inconsistent. We'll see. Mary, that's a good idea. Does anyone need keychains? I feel like I'm throwing out keychains every day. Let me know about that. Walter has a really good comment here. Let's see. Thanks, Matt. We're going to ND to give to Notre Dame to give our son's car to him. He's starting his meteorological career with the Air Force. Walter, that's awesome. I was actually signed up to do ROTC Air Force. I was in it at Penn State to start as meteorologist. And then I got a full ride last minute to run track and cross country with Alabama, which is crazy. But anyway, he is going to be set up for success with that. You used to work with NDOT as a champion for maintenance decision report and have been following storms. Walter, that's awesome, buddy. With NDOT, obviously you are so involved with the weather. So I'm sure you probably remember the storms and how they behaved and stuff like that. But boy, you were tied to the weather, and I'm sure you still are. So Walter, that's awesome. I appreciate you reaching out with that comment today. And good luck to your son. That's so cool. If he needs anything, have him email me. If he needs, we don't do internships now. And again, I'm over in the Cleveland area at NBC. So keep that in mind if he's willing to travel. But I'd be glad to help him with his career, whatever he happens to need for that. Just shoot it out to me. And as always, I appreciate his service. And if you served as well, thank you for that. All right. Walter says, always told to understand forecast gets better within 3 hours of it. Yeah, we should know what's happening within 3 hours. 3 days is a little bit better as well. So super cool. I appreciate sharing that story. That's inspiring. I'm really excited to see what your son does with that. So keep in touch with that, okay? All right, guys, we're going to let you go on this Sunday evening. I do appreciate you joining me as always. Again, tomorrow morning, not a huge deal. It is going to be pretty sloppy, though. We're going to have rain mixing with wet snow, 1 to 2 slushy accumulations in our northern counties. That system's out of here. We're going to just have kind of a coating by tomorrow night around the region, just wet, yucky snow. Probably won't be too pretty, to be honest with you. Probably will stick to the trees, though. So there's that with the wet snow. We go quiet Tuesday, we go quiet Wednesday, we go quiet Thursday, and then we'll watch, and I'll be updating. Trust me, it'll be on my mind this week, that Friday, Saturday storm system and what happens with that. Don't put it in your mind that we're going to get a snowstorm Friday, Saturday. This thing could totally shift east. These two systems may not phase together properly. So we may end up with a no event with just some lake effect snow out of this Friday, Saturday. Okay, so don't get it in your head that we're going to have a blockbuster storm, but the potential's there, which it isn't always there. Potential's there that we could be dealing with some kind of storm system that could be impactful those days. Okay. All right. Thanks for joining us. We'll talk to you again this week, and we'll have posts throughout the week. You know that, and on regionweather.com. All right. Bye.